The point is, we have a choice about how we process these thoughts, and we have to be diligent about what thoughts we allow in and about what thoughts we choose to discard or ignore. A simple example of this is watching television. Several years ago, I decided to limit my diet by choosing not to eat 2 hours before bedtime. We're told that eating before bedtime is hard on the stomach and makes it more difficult for one to lose weight. Overall, this plan of action is not too difficult when I'm by myself. When I'm alone, there's no one around to suggest that I eat, or who might be eating in front of me so that I get hungry and want to eat. But just turn on the TV, and all the fast food restaurants are showing burgers, fries, and shakes that make me want to eat. And I have to consciously choose not to allow those thoughts or pictures into my mentality. This can be easy the first few times you see the commercial, but advertisers know the importance of repetition, that if they just keep showing us those burgers, eventually we're likely to give in and break our fast. I'm afraid the pharmaceutical companies have also become extreme in their determination to fill our mentalities with unhealthy information. For example, we know from our lessons on realizing health that we don't work to overcome illness, but rather we work to realize health, thought form by thought form. An analogy of this idea is to build health for ourselves like building a house of bricks. We lay a proper foundation, and on that foundation we create a row of bricks and mortar. On top of that first row of bricks, we lay another row of bricks, and continue to make rows of bricks until finally we have constructed an entire house. We manifest our radiant, vital, dynamic health in the same way, building one thought form of health on top of another. The idea of bricks in this analogy is that our thoughts must be consistently directed toward one goal. If in one moment we have a thought of radiant, vital, dynamic health, and then in the next moment we get stuck in anger or some similar negative emotion, that negative emotion undoes the positive work we might have accomplished so that we've taken a step or more backwards, thereby impeding our progress. What the drug companies are doing in their advertising is getting us to adopt a particular ailment by showing people talking about my asthma or my chronic condition. Once you make that condition mine or yours, it becomes part of you and your mentality, creating an obstacle to your ability to realize health. Like I said earlier, astrologer Carol Reiter would not even use the word cancer to describe moon children because he did not want to allow that thought into his mentality. If you must refer to a condition, don't own that condition. Refer to it as the illness or the condition, but don't make it your own. What I really object to in the pharmaceutical advertising is that each commercial now lists a series of ailments or possible side effects. You've heard about the medical students who, upon reading about diseases they're learning about, develop the symptoms about which they're reading, just because the suggestion of the thought manifests that thought on some level in their mentality. So what I'm suggesting here is that even if you're not taking a particular drug, if you hear the possible side effects over and over again without screening those thoughts from your mentality, you may possibly develop those side effects simply by the act of suggestion from hearing the suggestion on your television over and over ad nauseum. My suggestion for what to do when you see an ad for a pharmaceutical product is to press the mute button and look away from the TV for at least a minute. Don't get sucked into those negative suggestions. Even if you do mute the sound, some commercials now write the unending list of side effects on the screen so that you can read the list of possible ailments. Remember, you have a choice about what you let into your mentality and what you block out. Take the time and make the effort to be more vigilant about what thoughts you retain. It does take some work, but the rewards will become evident over time. At first, this may seem like a difficult struggle, but with time and practice, it becomes much easier. The first step, however, is to remember that you do have a choice about how you react to incoming thoughts. And since we think thoughts constantly during the day, sometimes to an almost overwhelming extent, we must constantly exercise vigilance over how we respond to those thoughts. What about your situation? Are there stray thoughts that you allow into your mentality even though you know they are unhealthy? Are you able to screen those incoming thoughts effectively and consistently? Dr. Gard used to tell us to place a sentry by the third eye, and that the job of the sentry was to screen each thought before it entered into your mentality, and to discard the negative thoughts so that they don't hurt you. Now that we have the internet, email, spam, and more channels on television than ever, it's more important than ever to keep that sentry in place, on guard, to protect yourself from all the negative thoughts trying to get into your mentality. As usual, I want to remind you to pray and meditate daily, and remember the importance of choosing what you allow into your mentality, your thoughts, and your responses. Do you get a better reaction from people if you respond with a four-letter word, or with a simple, lighthearted mercy? You know that you are the commander of your own personal universe. You can furnish your universe in whatever way you choose. Give some thought to how you want your universe to be furnished, what attributes it should have, and what thoughts you should carry with you as you proceed down the path of life, as you interact with others. Remember that whatever work we do today is preparation for something to come. Whatever we learn today will help us in some small way with tomorrow or in the future. The key is to put God first, meditate daily, keep yourself centered as best you can, remember the lessons of the past and of history, observe the thoughts that come into your mentality, and don't be afraid to tell your mentality to ignore that thought or cancel that thought, if that's what you need to do, and work for perfect harmony. If we keep our minds focused and do the work, we can eliminate negative thoughts from our mentalities and thus from our lives. No matter how difficult it may seem at the time, just remember, as we've heard so many times before, that with God all things are possible. Now you might be asking, what does Father's Day have to do with keeping our mentalities uncluttered and free of negative thoughts and emotions? Well, hopefully, if you were lucky, your father nurtured and supported you in the best way he knew how. It may not have always seemed like it was the best way at the time, but fathers become fathers without any specialized training. We don't take courses in school in parenting, and really the only license required is a marriage license. So it's relatively easy for those who want to have children to become parents for the most part. It's important to remember that your father probably did the best he could under the circumstances, and hopefully he taught you, perhaps figuratively, to place that sentry at the third eye so that you could carefully choose those thoughts that you permitted into your mentality and screen out the thoughts that you didn't want to enter into your mentality. He might have done this by forbidding you to watch a particular TV show or movie, or forbidding you to spend time with a particular person or group that he feared might give you the wrong or bad ideas. Or he might have opened a new window for you and exposed you to something that you didn't think you were interested in until you looked a little closer and delved deeper into a given subject. If you give it some thought, you might actually come up with lots of ways your father influenced you to be better than you thought you could be in his own way. So on this Father's Day, let's take a moment to remember our fathers and everything they did for us, so that we could grow up and develop into mature adults with the ability to think for ourselves, to make our own decisions, and to have lives full of joy, peace, love, and gratitude.